All right, Clint from the doorway too, hanging out with one of the members of Lungburner. Really appreciate you doing this today, man. It's like very cool to talk to you. It's you're one of my current favorite records. I just want to let you know that. So that's the reason why I want to do this. Uh,
Thank you.
yeah. So Jens, just kind of talk about what you do in the band, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'm Jens. I'm the guitarist, vocalist. I do some of the keyboards and stuff. Like on the previous couple albums, I did all the sampling and stuff. So
Cool.
yeah, yep.
Yeah, nice, nice. So the reason why I like you guys so much is I started with so this is the first record I heard, the new one, and I kind of went backwards from here. So like it
Okay.
kind of was it was an interesting progression in reverse for me. So
Oh sure, yeah.
so it's right now it's kind of a heavy mix of like I'd say like hypnotic doom, sludge. There's some grunge elements. There's even some industrial elements in it. For my opinion. How did you come to Dogma from the beginning? Like, because the earlier records sound rather different than this record. So
Yeah, no, it's kind of a regression, right? So I never grew up in the doom world. Like I didn't grow up around Sabbath, anything else. I was raised on like 38 Special, White Snake, ZZ Top, Van Halen, all of that. And then later, like I was in high school when the grunge thing came out. That was huge. Then Pantera hit, and then you had all the new metal and all this stuff and industrial. And so I kind of grew up in that whole like amalgamation of like the 90s and everything. And then, I'm retired military. So I was in the military for a long time and going around and never really had a band, messed around with a couple people here and there. And then ended up here in Atlanta in 2000 or in 2020. So right when COVID hit and nobody was going out. And I was like, you know what? I got the opportunity, built a little home studio, just like I'm just going to start writing what I want to write. And when the time is right and we can, start joining a band, I'm going to do that again, but really go after what I wanted to do. And so I had suffered a hand injury. And so I was like, well, kind of that Tony Iommi, like, what can I do? Just kind of playing a little bit slower and started tuning down. And I always loved the Meshuggah and Fear Factory and all that downtune stuff. And I'm like, well, let me just do that with a 6-string because, I'm not too smart. So the extra string always screwed me up. So I'm like, well, let me just tune this thing down. And then, going back to Deftones and some of that stuff with the droney and just kind of mix this idea of like, what can I get with like an orange amp, Deftones kind of aesthetic and just kind of play that doom thing. Because when I came down here to Atlanta, there's so many doom bands and really great ones. And it's kind of like, okay, kind of get into the scene. And I even stationed down in Florida and had the whole like Down, Crowbar. So I'd been into all of that. And yeah, I just came down here and was like, let me experiment with that doom side. And we got it. We nailed it. We had a particular thing. And then it's just kind of like, okay, well, let me kind of ease back into what I'm used to and a little bit of Pantera. Let's speed this up a little bit, get a little bit more distortion. Let me throw a Mesa in here instead of a orange. And then just kind of like, once we kind of got a good feel for that doom world, then we're like, well, let's pull more of our own influences into that. Right. So it's kind of like us being outsiders interpreting doom through a non-traditionalist eyes. And so it's kind of been, it's been a regression. We went to an experiment and we're like, okay, cool. We have a grasp on it. Let's kind of move back to where we were. So that's kind of where we're doing it right now. We're just kind of trying to find that happy medium. So yeah, no, I mean, sorry to be long-winded, but yeah, you really nailed it. It's been kind of a regression. So yeah, for you to listen to it backwards I've never thought about it like that, but that's a great way to see it. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. It was very different. I was like, okay, they're taking the core parts that they love and they're like really exemplifying them on this new record. So like that it was really cool.
Yeah.
You guys seem to love records, vinyl. So the last 2 records have been on LP from what I'm looking at. What makes vinyl such a wonderful, I don't know, output for this kind of music?
Honestly, because there's a lot of feelings of nostalgia in this.
Yep.
And I think an LP and that visual, like having a big piece of art, it's no longer just a CD that you throw in, but it's like a piece of art. You can frame it, you can put it up on the wall. There's this textile, like you can grab it. And it takes us, it takes a lot of us back to our childhood. And, that moment of like pulling an LP out and putting it on there and putting the needle down. And there's just, there is a nostalgia to the music. And so I think the LPs is just kind of the nostalgia in the product as a whole. and it kind of just brings you back. And a lot of people like it. And I know a lot of people that'll buy vinyl and not even take it out of the plastic. It's a piece of art. It's a piece of the band. And it's that analog. That's just that nostalgia for how things were. And I think it's that idea of like, this is the music and the art in its purest form, right? It's not digitized for mass consumption and quick production. This is the most expensive way. This is the most, as far as the audio, it's the best quality. And so it's like buying that Italian leather shoe, right? It costs more. It'll wear out if you use it too much. There's a scarcity to it. And I think that that's really like what people connect to. It's not about the music. It's just about what it is, an artifact.
You targeted me pretty well. I'm the guy that buys the vinyl and I listen to digital only, but I have it as because I love looking at it. I love reading it. I love taking the liner notes out. It's a very human thing for me where it's not, like you said, not so digital. Like you can drop a record if you want to and kind of listen to it and just kind of, put your headphones on and go back and just like, I'm older too. I'm 53. So I grew up in the days of like when you went to a record store and you picked up a record and you looked at the album, you're like, okay, I don't know what this is going to sound like, but it's a damn cool album cover and I'm buying it. I just don't care. So cool. Awesome. Yeah. Did you want to say something else or you?
Oh, no, sorry.
All right, cool. So I want to talk about the video. I think is that Demo or I'm not sure how you
Adamu.
Adamu. Okay. It brings me back to the 90s as well too, pretty heavily. It reminds me of like waiting for Headbangers Ball and like waiting like at midnight to see like, okay, what new band is going to be my favorite goddamn band. And like when I watched this video, it gave me the same trippy vibes. I'm originally from New Jersey and there was a band called Nude Swirl and I used to go see them all the time and loved them. They got signed to Megaforce and I literally waited for 5 weeks for their video to go on MTV so I could see it and say like, my boys are on MTV now and they're like a real band. This video kind of gives me that same vibe when I watch it. Can you kind of talk about that video, how it was made? Are you happy with it? Like things like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, we're still a relatively new band. We're low budget, we definitely have a lot of friends that are doing things like video and all that stuff. And so we were just kind of like, hey, we need to have a video. We have this rehearsal space. It's kind of cool. We have our own lights. So, let's do this stuff on the cheap, right? Because it's art. It's not about how much money you spend. It's just about how creative you could be. And just like sometimes there's creativity in restriction. And so we were like, well, we got what we got. We got lights. Let's set up a bunch of iPhones, do a whole bunch of takes. And then we have a buddy, Eric Bigelow, who was in the band Ember. And he's in Ketona now. And he has Riff Cut Media. And he does video. He used to do all the videos for Ember, and we're friends with him. We're like, hey man, like we just shot a whole bunch of trash. Like, would you be able to take this and make something of it? And he turned that around. I think like in a week, like threw it back to us, and we were like, it just captures the feeling of being in that room. So it was just like, yeah, let's just go ahead and roll with it. So we were totally happy with it. We were surprised. But yeah, it's just one of those things of, again, with, a rising tide lifts all ships. We can go out there and spend a bunch of money on all this stuff, or we can work with the people that are the same level that we are, that are really doing some great art and just, make each other famous in a way, and just, work with the people that have already worked with you. And that was just one of those, like, it was just kind of like the album. We did the album ourselves and we're like, let's do the video. Let's see how much quality of art we can create for the lowest possible dime and maximum creativity.
Cool. So I'm going to kind of ask you a harder question. I don't know if you're going to be able to answer it or not, but I want to get your thoughts on it. So when I listen to your record, there's two kind of different paths that follow it. There's that doomy kind of really heavy 70s kind of vibe, but there's this like, again, I'm a child of the 90s too, grew up that time. But there's this grunge thing, but there's specific kind of grunge there. Like, and I don't know if you like these bands or not, so I'm going to kind of mention them and see if there was any influences. Like it reminds me of like mid-period Melvins. It reminds me of like early Tad, like things like that, like the nastier, heavier side of grunge rock, like where it wanted to almost be metal, but it wasn't quite metal yet. Like, is that the kind of grunge that influenced you? Because I almost like, I hear you sing, like I hear early Tad in your voice. Like it's just the way. So I just kind of talk to me about it. I think that's the best way to do it.
I mean, this is probably, people will probably recognize it. But yeah, I've got a bunch of different stuff. But yeah, that whole, I don't think about it as grunge. I think of like the Northwest scene. Like, yeah,
Okay.
the Melvins, Yob, Big Business, Alice in Chains. So yeah, it's a very specific type of like, it's that metal adjacent, like almost like the proto sludge,
Yep.
right? It wasn't grunge. It was more of that Northwest sludge thing and the Melvins and all that. So yeah, no, that was definitely where it's from. As far as the vocals go, honestly, I don't have that great of a singing voice. We're tuned really, really low. And I never really thought about being the vocalist. I kind of just fell into the role because we couldn't find anyone else to do it. I had a vision and just did what I did. But the majority of my vocals are actually pretty well comped from CJ McMahon from Thy Art Is Murder.
Okay.
And Randy Blythe. And I just really like, yeah, I mean, yeah, and Lamb of God. I mean, I'm a total Lamb of God fan. Thy Art Is Murder, like that's my jam. Like when I want to, you know, the Doom stuff is cool and Yob, but there's a certain flavor that does. And for the vocals, that's just kind of where it felt like it sat, you know. So I'm pulling a lot of the influences there. But yeah, no, you totally nailed it with that Northwest scene. I was stationed out in California for a while in San Diego, and we take trips up there to Portland and Seattle and stuff. So I was into that, but I was more of a metalhead, right? So the grunge, you know, the Pearl Jam was a little bit, this is, you know, they listen to too much REM. That's not my thing. But then, you know, I heard the Melvins, you know, and then I was like, okay, great. And then we ran into a Red Fang show.
Oh wow.
And I was like, oh God, like, yeah, a prehistoric dog. That was what sold me. I was like, yeah. I just like, I fell into it and yeah.
Cool,
and then
cool.
when Big Business and the Melvins joined forces, I was like, oh, you know, two drummers, of course, do it.
Yeah, I could definitely hear the Big Business stuff. So like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's cool for sure. So you're on Terminus 8 City now.
Yes.
And they seem like they have a huge love for Atlanta. So like, I just like, what makes Atlanta so special? Like, so in the 90s and early 2000, mid 2000s, I toured all over and I played Atlanta, and it was a special scene even then. I played at a place called The Round there, and it was freaking phenomenal. Like, it was like this amazing show. Played there twice, as a matter of fact, and it was special then. But what makes it so special now? Because it seems like there's this resurgence of heavy music from that area.
So I think that what it is that, you know, you always had a strong music scene. And again, I just moved here in 2020. So this is me kind of learning it and being immersed in it and learning, and just from what I've heard from people. But the biggest thing I can kind of take, at least my perspective, is that there used to be a very, very good scene here. You know, the Mastodon guys, it's the same thing that got Whores out there and Baroness and Kylesa and all those. And so there was a really big scene. And then they kind of popped off and they left the scene and they went off and did their thing and put this place on the map. And then, you know, you had a lot of other acts and there's so much, like, Atlanta isn't a one music scene. There's so much, there's rap and hip hop and country, and there's so much going on here that, you know, nothing really owns the scene. And, you know, heavy music had its moment, and then those bands went off and were elevated, and they were kind of the Atlanta heavy music, and everyone was still back here kind of retooling. And then you have the rap scene and people blowing up there. And I think that right now you're just kind of like, you just see in cycles in music that 15 to 20 year rotation. And now all the bands that, you know, were influenced by Mastodon, Kylesa, Bear, like all that pop off of like 2005 to 2010, the bands that were influenced, and now some of this younger group, they're the ones now that are at the entrepreneurial things. So like Jay, the guy that owns THC, and Sid Howell that run the 529, they bought that place. And a lot of those old clubs that were there when Mastodon was coming up, you know, the crowds dwindled, they closed shop. And now you have those people that were fans at that age, old enough to buy their own clubs, and like the Earl and the Star Bar. And now they're just like, you know, those people that were fans are now old enough to be doing it. So they're the ones growing that scene now. And so the old fans are now the people doing in the work and putting on the shows for younger fans who will eventually do the same thing, so forth and so on. And so I think that what you're seeing now is just that natural cycle where the fans have now become the scene, and we're growing it again and trying to rebuild it. And there's a lot of energy of like, let's build this the way that we remember it. And again, that whole nostalgia thing met with a lot of people that have the means and the guts to go out and do it. And we just all kind of got together, and every band supports everybody, the venues support everybody, and we're just trying to get on the map. We're trying to go on the road and spread the Atlanta message to everybody else that'll take us. And yeah, and so we're just starting to kind of grasp out, and we've got a lot of amazing bands here, and it's got to the saturation point now where Atlanta is outside of Atlanta now.
Cool. So, yeah, that's awesome. It's funny because one of the bands you mentioned are the ones we did 2 shows with, which was Kylesa. So that was really cool. Like, that's who we played with when we were down there. So it was really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was good. Like I said, so I guess I'm going to ask it this way because I kind of, you're Doom without being Doom. Okay. Now this is like, I don't know how else to explain it. Like there's so many other elements mixed into your music, but at heart, you are down-tuned, you are sludgy, you are a nasty, slower band. You have faster riffs, don't get me wrong, but at the heart, at the core, it is. What does Doom mean to you? Like being that you, like you said, you came into this kind of scene.
Yeah.
What does Doom mean to you? Because like, it's hard for bands like yourself sometimes to play outside of that genre because there's gatekeeping, like, oh, you're the Doom band, you're the black metal band, you're the death metal band. And a lot of people, when you do mixed bills, it doesn't work as well. Sometimes it works great, but it doesn't. But like, what does the term Doom mean to you?
For me personally, Doom is just an aesthetic. It's that, it's down-tuned, slower, riff based, that there are riffs. And it's really more of an aesthetic and the emotion that it pulls out of you. Like when you think of thrash, you listen to the music and the music wants you to thrash around. And I look at Doom as that same thing, so that Doom is when something hits you and it's going to pull some sort of emotion out. And I think good Doom is something that makes you think about yourself. Like Yob is so great for it. It's you get it. And I heard somebody say that, I think it was the documentary, Such Hawks, Such Hounds.
Okay.
And somebody talked about the cosmic nod, right? And when you listen to something and it just, everything turns off and you're in that space and you're no longer in the world, you're just in this mental space, in this ethereal. I think for at least me, that's what Doom is. It puts you kind of into this lower trance, this primal, like there's aggression, but I guess the weight of that aggression, like there's a little bit of responsibility to it. It's not just violence per se, but it's almost like a turmoil within, the anger you express, the anger you're feeling. So I think it's a more complex thing than just violence. But to me, Doom is really that, just low, slow, getting into those base emotions that really can take you over and getting to a spot where you get cathartic in a way. So I think that's good Doom. When you get done with a Doom song and you're thinking like, man, I got to call my friends, man. Like that's a good Doom song, right?
Very cool. So I want to talk about the polar opposite side of the band, being that you're the synth player or like that you play the keyboard parts and the synth parts. I want to talk about the kind of industrial elements that I hear. I do noise, industrial electronic music as well too, and it's like that's the other side of my world that I love. So I think that's why I love this record so much, because it's like a mixture of both things. Now I don't hear industrial as in like Nine Inch Nails or Ministry for you. Like when I listen to this record, I hear old school 80s and 90s like Wax Tracks and like Metropolis Records, industrial, because you use these rhythms and these tones that are not like straightforward industrial metal or what you would call industrial. There's a lot of kind of electro industrial kind of vibes in what I hear in the background. When you're adding and layering the synths into it, are you trying to like throw those elements in? Because it almost makes it more interesting to my ear. I start drifting off and hearing those tones and I'm like, oh, wait, there's the guitar again. But no, wait, there's the keyboard. So like, it's almost like two different things mixed together. When you're making it, are you trying to add like those other flavors into the songs? Or?
It's not a conscious thing. So okay. I think everybody in the band, like no one's going to lie, Prince is one of our greatest influences. Awesome. Right. And so like our bass player Josh, he's very much into like Killing Joke and punk and new wave and 80s. I'm into the same thing, like the whole dance wave and new wave and Joy Division, stuff like that. So and we all grew up in like the 80s and 90s. So we were, those those Gen X kids that were brought up around hip hop and everything. So I don't think it's really a conscious thing. I think it's just we have a lot of sounds that we've heard from for years that we're like, hey, I really like this sound, or a keyboard, or what about something like some bongos or something. And we're not we never sit there and say, is it doom? We just say, like, what about this? And we'll try it. And hey, wouldn't it be cool if we put like a little, like, flock of seagulls or something, like and we're like, yeah, fuck it, let's go ahead and throw it on there. And then halftime we're like, yeah, that fucking slaps. Let's go with it. So I don't think it's a conscious effort. I think it's more of a conscious effort to not put restrictions on anything before we try to mess with it. And so we each have a huge like history of our influences, and we just don't put a restriction on like Lungburner is this, like that's not a thing, right? So we just try anything, and sometimes it's just good to get weird.
No, I agree, man. It's awesome. I want to talk about the guitars for a minute now too. I may be completely insane, so you can tell me if I am. I appreciate it very much. But I hear two very distinct guitar tones. Did you do a lot of layering and tracking on this, or is it kind of just a live kind of vibe? Because there is this clean guitar tone that I hear a lot of times, and then there's this super dirty one, and it almost sounds like they're mixing together. Now, it might just be one tone that you have that kicks ass. I'm not saying that. But did you layer a lot of this on this record, or did you do a couple of clean tracks, or?
Yeah, so so we did this whole album ourselves, and I've been messing with gear and recording for years, because like I said, I was always, stuck in a barracks room or whatever. So I'd have a laptop, I'd be doing my own thing. And, I was in engineering and electronics, so I understood waveforms and all this other stuff. So I got like really geeked out on like gain and all, and like EQs and what it's all doing. And so with the approach on this, no, you're absolutely right. It was a bunch of layers. And I just found that I could get one tone that was really gnarly and heavy and thick, but it wasn't articulate. It wasn't that. And it's like, well, let me, this amp is really good in the mid range. So yeah, so what you're really hearing is we have a whole mix of orange amps in the background, kind of dead center. So bass is more of an omnidirectional. So centered bass right in the center, and that orange stack, and just dual darts into orange cabinets, and pushing that low mid fuzz, and then cutting some of the high out. And then I was running split Mesa and JCM mix. Gotcha. So more of that mid range without that low end. So I wasn't fighting him. Joe wasn't fighting. So we kind of sat in these two things, and then I would give that articulation and spread, since that high end is more unidirectional, and so it would give us a better stereo field, and it just opened everything up. It was just like, let's try this. And again, it was boom, like, okay, that's it. I'm not getting in your way. You're not getting in my way. And then we could reduce the gain, right? Like when you're that low, you don't, like, if it's distorted too much, you lose the fundamental. And so as we've gotten low, we rehearse at full volume. We also rehearse with in-ears. So we're conscious about like, how is this, like, really, like, let's get this mix right. So there's and some bands do it, some don't, but we're really meticulous about making sure all of our tones interlock. And that, we do play at volume, so we can't have any fat in the mix. So we've just put a lot of time on that. And yeah, and that's what you're hearing. A lot of stacking, a lot of being mindful of gain, being mindful of the EQ, subtracting, not adding. If there's too much, if there's too much high end, we'll cut the high end. Don't boost the low end, right? So yeah, just trying to be more mature, and keeping your 14-year-old hand like, no, no. Right.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Awesome. No, I was going to say, like, you're one of the few bands that make a heavier lower end sound, like where you can distinctly hear the bass, the guitar, the drums. It's not just a big clump of mud. Like a lot of times there's just a big clump of mud. Like I love the Melvins, don't get me wrong, but at certain points of times, like the Melvins just sound like one ominous tone, like, because they're so low, so heavy, so dirty at times. But no, I appreciate that. There is one song on this record, and it's my favorite song, and it's what I play people. I'm like, if you like this song, like Lungburner is going to be for you. Like you got to check this out. And it's Misery. And the reason why I say that is I feel like it mixes everything from all three records on that one song into, like, you could listen to any Lungburner record and you'd be happy if you liked Misery. Could you kind of talk about that song for me for a bit?
So that song was originally written as a single. I was living out in Texas for about a year for work, about a year and a half ago, and we had released Nature Duality in September. And I was just stuck out there at work, just in a single room, and I just kind of started plinking around on my computer. And I originally came up with that as a single, released it on Bandcamp, didn't do anything else with it. And then later, when it came to the album, we were looking at material, and okay, let's pull this riff. And I was like, oh wait, there's this single I did on my own in the bedroom board. Like, we want to try to revisit that. And we all listened to her like, yeah. And it's actually tuned to one of our Stranger tunings. So it's kind of that, it's a drop F sharp.
Okay.
So it's like F sharp, A, E, D, F sharp, B. And so it's just a little bit lower. And so it is kind of the oddball on there, but it was kind of just a remnant between the last album and this one, that we just brought up and retooled. So
cool, awesome. I know you guys are recording new stuff right now. Where do you see the progression of the band going? Is it going to be very similar to the last record, or is it going to be another leap, another change, another drastic turn or corner?
I think the only consistency we have is inconsistency. Like, so we're always growing, right? No, it's definitely going to be a leap. It's definitely going to be growth. People are going to hear it like, okay, it's recognizable. It's Lungburner, but again, it's just going to be growth and, us experiment. Nobody wants the same meal every night for dinner, right? So we're just adding some stuff. Yeah, it's still chicken. Yeah, there's still some pasta in there, but we're just put a little bit of a different spin on it just because it's Thursday. So why not, right? So no, I think people will be surprised. I think that they'll be welcomed. It's still us. It still hits. But yeah, we're just, obviously we're working with an amazing producer and team here. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of little surprises in the mix.
Cool. Live versus the album. Like, I have not got to see you live yet. Of course, I'm in Vegas, so I'm a little distance away. But how would you say, like, what's the differences? There's got to be some kind of intrinsic differences in the sound of live versus record. So what would I see live that I don't get on an album? So
weight.
Okay.
Just, like, we don't play loud, but we do use a lot of speakers. So there's a difference between SPL and dB. Like, you can move a lot of air, but not be loud. And you can be loud, not move a lot of air. So for us, it's mainly the lights. We have our own light rig, and just the volume, just the pure air being moved. So it's more of a visceral thing. Like, you can listen to the album, you can play it through a set of speakers, and it's awesome. But there's no different, there's no way to compare the two, right? It's a difference between watching a video of the beach and being there.
Right.
Like, you're stimulating your eyes, you're stimulating your ears, but until you're there and it's a whole body experience. I mean, so I think, like, we try to stay true to the album. We try to stay true to the music. But it's a much more punishing experience because it's the lights are going, the volume. So it's just, it's definitely the caffeinated version.
Gotcha. Awesome. That's a good definition. Awesome. So has there been any feedback, any reviews, any commentary that kind of took you off guard or shocked you from Dogma so far? Like something that you didn't expect that you would hear, like, not that like, oh, it's been really favorable or not, but maybe somebody said something and it kind of turned a switch on you, when you read it or heard it. So
there's two things I heard, right? Because I've never really, and I already touched on this, I really haven't been sure what to do with my vocals. Never was a vocalist, just kind of like fell into it. And there was one review where they were talking about the vocals and the weight of the vocals, and just they made a comment about how they almost try to harmonize with the lowest note. And like, I had never realized that. So I was just kind of, I was like, okay, yeah, that's great. And then there was another part. Oh, Kevin. Oh, okay. They just got done tracking, so might be getting hauled in there soon. But okay. And then there was another one where somebody said that the album was intellectually as challenging as it was sonically heavy.
Nice.
And for me, that was definitely something that, we do put a lot of effort into the overall aesthetic, the theme, and the message of the band. So for somebody to pick up on that was definitely that means it's working.
Cool.
So,
Yeah, I only have two questions left, so we'll make it quick and we'll get you out of there. I know you're busy working on new.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
No, it's okay. So I always ask this question to a band because I love to get the thought process of it. If today was the very last day of the band and you knew you were just like, okay, you know what, we've had what we've done. What do you want to be remembered for? Like, what would be the one thing you want to be remembered for as Lungburner?
To do the art that you love, to, find your own plan and just do what you're going to do and be good to people. And there's Josh, they're done tracking.
Hey.
Yeah. Just to do the art, have the confidence to do it yourself. If you have a good plan and execute it. And just remember, there's industry plans. There's the way the people have done it, but we've tried to do it our own way, be respectful of people and put the scene first. And at the end of the day, I think, if we could just be seen as one of those bands that came in, built good relationships with people, had an amazing time with amazing people, and maybe just inspired people to get a little bit more out of themselves and to push the boundaries and just say, you know what, let's do it today and not wait. So I think that, we just want to see that we left the scene and the music world a little bit better than we found it.
Cool. The last thing I'm going to let you do is give you the stage. What's the next 3 to 6 months for Lungburner? What's going on with them?
Okay, so we're currently in the studio right now, tracking our next EP with Bill Kelleher of Mastodon and the West End, and West End Sound. So we're down here June 20th, I believe we're looking at doing our official record release here in Atlanta. And then June 24th to 28th, we're going to be on tour in Louisiana and Texas with Hot Ram. We're going to take them out on the road. We're going to be going to New Orleans, Lafayette, Houston, Austin, and then Dallas.
Nice.
And then we're going to take a little bit of a break. And then July 30th to, I believe, August 6th, we're going to be going out on the road with Sumo.
Oh, wow.
Those tour dates are to be announced. We haven't finalized everything, so that is their game plan. So hope it rolls off. If not, I apologize. We'll get back in August. And then hopefully this EP will be ready to roll out sometime in the fall. We're playing Grand Rapids Doomfest 3 with Jason Doom up in Michigan. We're doing that, and we're trying to tie together a couple of shows with Shadows of Jupiter and those guys up in Chicago. And that'll be in October. And then, we've got the Doom and Gloom Fest 3 down in Tampa in November. And so that's what we got on the books now. In the meantime, we're going to be looking for some other shows. We have a show at Tribbles, Stoned Riff Revival, August 22nd. I forgot about that. We just got hooked up on that. So that's out at Tribbles in Piedmont, South Carolina.
Nice.
So we have a couple of shows lined up. And then, once we're done with this and get ready for the tour, we'll just see what else lines up. And hopefully we get some better shows and get to play in front of more people and spread the gospel.
Nice. Well, gents, thank you very much for doing this. I appreciate it. Your new record,
Yes,
it kills for me, man. It's one of my favorite records now. If you ever do come out to Vegas, please let me know because I would love to hang out and get to see you guys. But other than that, like I said, thank you so much. Clint from the Doorway 2, hanging out with Jens. Oh,
Kevin.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Kevin. Nice to meet you, man.
Sorry to be late to the interview. We were tracking.
Yeah.
No. It's all good. It went well, and like I love your record. So like it's one of my favorite things right now. It's why I wanted to talk about it. So.
Thanks.
Yeah, but anyway, like Clint from the Doorway 2, hanging out with a couple of guys from Lungburner now. Anyway, thank you again. You have a great weekend. You have a great new record that you're making, and I hope to see you play live soon.
We will. Hopefully we'll be getting out to your end of the world, West Coast sometime 2027.
Nice. All right. Thank you again. Bye.
Yep. I'll send it. Bye.